Hello everyone, Theodore Burns here from Downforce Racing, and this is a walkthrough for Road America, Week 1 of the 2024 Season 1 IndyPro2000 schedule. A little introduction first for Week 1 and how these videos will look this season. I plan to post a walkthrough video in addition to my replay, telemetry, and setup files on the iRacing forums each week this season. I'll be creating a Baseline Plus setup each week derived from the iRacing baseline for each track and then post a lap driving that setup around the track. I aim to make the setups faster than the baseline and a little bit easier to drive. They should fall within a couple tenths of our optimized team setup. I will also list my setup changes in the notes of each setup for anyone curious as to what I felt and what I changed from the iRacing base. I hope that helps you all understand the setup changes a bit more and become more comfortable in tweaking them to your own liking. In these videos, I will show my complete lap and then go through corner by corner what my references are and what I'm thinking as I drive a lap around Road America. So this week, the conditions I used were iRacing default, minimal wind. So this is 78 air, 79 track, and I had low usage 25%, and this is a morning session. This should be pretty representative, if not a little on the warm side for what we'll see in officials. We may have a little bit more wind. I believe this is right around 25 C for those that don't use Freedom units. I ran a total of 3 laps. This is on full race fuel. And I reached a bit of an early session plateau here, so these times should fall as the fuel burns off. Lap 2 is actually my fastest here. And so without further ado, let's take a lap around Road America. Alright, and there we have a lap. Doesn't look like the split timer worked for this, but this was right about on the optimal. I think I maybe picked up a couple hundredths on the third lap before throwing it away in turn 14, as is tradition around here. So those that aren't aware, Road America is my home track. It's one of my favorite tracks. I've turned more laps here than just about anywhere else on the sim. I'm going to try and make this as brief as possible because I have a lot I could say about this. Anyway, coming up, turn 1, first of all. Brake marker for this is these 3 cones. It's the second brake marker that we will come up on coming into the corner. You'll pass the access road, the 4 cones, and we're braking at the second set of cones there. So this is what I'm using as my brake marker. And it's fairly decent brake, about 60% brake, but trailing off fairly quickly as you want to roll a lot of speed into the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm trying to put the right side tires and follow this apex curbing all the way around. I want to get the right side tires and use the entirety of this curb and get the car turned in, rotated on this curb, and then power out and make sure that I watch my exit, because the exit curb and the dirt out there comes up pretty quickly and I don't want to run into that. You pick up a 1X and have a chance of spinning back across the track. So I'm going to turn into the corner, and I pick up throttle pretty early, right when I get onto this apex curbing, because I feel the car is rotated. And I'm able to drive out and straighten the hands when I get to full power and hit this exit curb. I want to make sure I'm not carrying a whole lot of steering lock onto this exit curb, because the car is going to get pretty upset going over the little bumps here. And if I have a lot of steering lock, there's a high chance of the curb upsetting the car and having it spin back across the track. So I'm going to play back through this corner one more time in real speed. Going to do it from the chase cam this time, so you can see the car placement in the corner. All right, coming down to what is now turn 3 at Road America, which is the second real corner on the track. There's not a great brake marker for this. There are the brake markers over here on the fence line, but I don't like looking at those because the corner goes to the right and I don't want to be pulling my eyes off of the corner. So what I'm actually looking for is there's a patch of dirt that iRacing has programmed in here that's right here on the edge of the track surface, and I'm basically driving up until I see that dirt, which is this patch right here, which coincides about, maybe like the 110 or so. And so I'm going to brake right about when that comes into my view, and I'm about a car length, maybe 2 car lengths prior to this large patch of dirt. The one board being right at this kind of white marker coming across the track. And again, I'm trying to use these references because I don't want to pull my eyes and look up here and then have to try and look back and find the apex. I want to catch these in my peripheral as I'm staring down the apex of the corner. Got to be careful using all of the track here, because the track does kind of start to cheat a little bit to the right. This is not a very straight brake zone, so you got to make sure you have a little bit of steering input in. You don't drive the left side tires off the track here. This is a very heavy brake zone. We're coming down a hill, and then it kind of levels out here as we get down into turn 3. I'm going to turn in, and just like turn 1, I want to get the right side tires all the way up onto this apex curb, right up to the edge of the grass, and use as much of this as possible. I get off the trail as soon as I get down into the corner. The car starts to get rotated, and I'm using the trail brake and the steering in conjunction with that elevation change. So basically, once I get off the trail brake, I hit down. I'm on the flat road, and I've used that kind of elevation and that transition to get the car rotated and start to point out down the corner. So now, because I'm turning in extremely hard, and I'm gonna, if I don't get on throttle, I'm going to turn into the grass. So I'm using this throttle to increase my radius and basically follow around the corner here. So I don't get quite into full throttle just yet. It's about half throttle, as just to increase my radius and keep the right side tires there. I don't want to snap the steering back. I want to keep the left side tires loaded. So I want to keep that steering input into the corner, and then get to full power and straighten it up as I can see down the straightaway. So the big theme around Road America is corner exits and getting on power as soon as possible to get as big a run down the straight, because that's where you will make up the most time. That's where you'll lose the most time if you do not get on power. That's the common theme around here. There's 3 really big straights. This is there's the straight from 14 up through the front straight. This is the second big straight on the lap, and then we have another one a bit later on. But it's really important to get a good run out of turn 3. And so when I say get on power early, I'm not necessarily meaning tipping into throttle. I mean get to full power sooner. The person who gets to full power sooner will win the drag race down to turn 5. So I want to make sure that I can get to full power as soon as possible, and part of that comes from getting the car rotated early and onto that apex. If we're missing the apex, we're not getting the car rotated, we're driving in too fast into turn 3, we're not able to get to that full power sooner. So again, I'm using the elevation and the brake release to get the car rotated into the corner and down onto this curb. And then once I'm onto this curb, I'm using the throttle to increase my radius and then get to full throttle as soon as I can see track out and down the straightaway. You can use some of this exit curb here, but it will end up upsetting the car, and you have to get back over pretty quickly to avoid the 1X. So don't want to use too much of it. Want to try and just barely touch it with the left side tires if possible, because anything more, it's there if you need it, but it will slow you down by bottoming the car out. So play this through one more time in real speed using the chase camera. Long straight. One of the keys about this straight, there is a bit of a crown to it. You want to pick the right or the left side. You do not want to drive right down the center. Similar to Watkins Glen, it will slow you down driving down the center of the straightaway. Approach to turn 5. It's another downhill brake zone, another one that kind of curves a bit to the left for the tight left-hander down at the bottom of the hill there, which is turn 5. Again, there's more corners down the straight that they count as numbers that you don't have to brake for. My brake marker for this is the 2 board. If you're really confident on the brakes in this car, you can usually drive it in about maybe half a car length past the 2 board. If you're not quite as confident on the brakes, you're probably going to want to back this up and brake about, maybe starting with the 225 and work that down to the 2 board as you become a bit more confident, get the brake trace properly. This is going to be a proper full brake trace, all the way up to about 80-85% brake force, and I'm holding it there as I come down the hill. I'm not bleeding off right away. I want to get up to that peak and I want to plateau and have a really high plateau as I come down the gears. I usually want to try and avoid hitting this curb with my right side tires, but I want to get right up to it to maximize the track that I'm using here. And I want to get a nice late turn in into the corner here. So I start to tip the car in, turn and get it rotated. Notice a long coast phase until I get to that apex when I finally get into power because the car is rotated. So this is one of those instances where I don't want to be carrying a whole lot of trail brake into the corner because that will upset the car a little bit, but I also don't want to get on power too early. So notice I trail off as I turn into the corner, and then I have this long coast phase until I actually get to the apex. I'm getting all the way up onto this curb again, getting those left side tires right up to that grass. It is a little bumpy, but it doesn't upset the car too much. I tip into the power and get into full power as soon as I track out. Now, you can use all of this curbing out here without picking up a 1X. If you come off of the kind of stepped curbing and onto this, that's where you'll pick up the 1X. The other thing with this car is I don't want to straddle this and only uses I want a little bit. I want to use either all of this curbing or none of this curbing because there is a big bump right there that the car went over, and that bump will bottom out the car, kill your run out of the corner. You will kind of bottom out a little bit coming back across, so I want to ride this curbing out as far as possible until about this yellow mark here and try and drag the right side tires across that to minimize the bottoming out of the floor of the car across this curb. Play that through one more time in real speed from the chase cam so you can kind of see all of that going on at once. So next corner, turn 6 up here at the top of the hill. Turn 6 is a very tricky corner. It's blind and we're cresting a hill on entry. So we have to do our braking early before we get over the crest. Otherwise, we're going way too deep in the corner. We're locking up and so forth. So this is one of those corners where we will brake early, but because we're braking early, we don't want to use full power, full brake pressure. We're going to use lighter pressure for longer into turn 6 to get the car down into the apex. So I'm braking right about at the end of the radical sign here. I kind of just use a just kind of on feel. I'm looking at the bridge and kind of the crest, seeing if I can try and see the apex, and I just kind of do it on feel. But if you do need a marker, right at the end of this radical sign here on the right. But again, I want to try and keep my eyes. I'm hunting for the apex with my eyes. I would just want to catch this in my peripheral. I don't want to be staring this down and driving over too far to the right. So it is only about 50% brake, but it is a very long brake. And I'm going to do a late downshift coming here so I don't upset the rear tires and chirp them over the crest of the corner here. And now, because of this crest and because the car is pretty light, I want to try and turn the car in a little bit before the car totally settles. So as I'm coming up over the crest, I'll give just that little bit of steering input to point me towards the apex. You'll notice that now I actually have zero steering input. I'm driving straight into the apex, and I'm coming off of the throttle or coming off of the brake pretty quickly here to try and roll as much speed in as possible, but knowing that the car is very light right now, and that is why it's coming in a little shallow. So I want to use as much of this curbing as possible. Again, getting all the way down to the apex, getting left side tires onto the grass. I'm going to get into the throttle to increase my corner radius through here, make sure the car is rotated, and I ease into power. I ease in just a little bit too quickly here, and you can see the snap oversteer as I was a little bit too greedy with my right foot and didn't quite unwind my hands fast enough. So I want to have a little bit better timing, but this is one of the great things about this car is you can really slide out the rear and power slide the car without too many ill effects, losing it on the inside. But again, that's a little mistake on my part. I came in a little bit too shallow and just couldn't quite get the timing of my right foot and the hands quite right. I still had the steering input in. That's why the car snapped on me there. Didn't cost me a whole lot of time, maybe about half a tenth through there. We'll watch it one more time from chase cam. Turn 7, easy setup. Use all the track, start on the left, turn in to the right. You can get all the way up onto this apex curb if you need. I usually like to eat a little bit more curb than this because the more curb you eat there, the less track on exit you have to use. Because when you come all the way out here onto this exit curb, there's a high chance you go a little bit too far, especially if you're following, get some aero wash, get the tires into the grass and spin back across the track. So I can eat as much of that turn 7 curb as I want. Like I said, a little bit light on this lap in particular, so it went just a little bit wide there on exit. Eating the apex curb, it can usually save you a couple hundredths coming down the straight here. So watch it one more time. Chase it up. All right, now turn 8, another heavy brake zone. I'm using the 2 board as my brake marker for this. It's another downhill brake zone, so we want to make sure we're very efficient with our braking. We'll have to brake a little bit earlier than we can because we're carrying so much speed down the hill, but it does level out when we get into the corner, similar to turn 3, similar to turn 5. Unlike those corners, though, this is a very straight patch of road leading into the corner, so we can get right up to the edge of the road here. We don't have to worry about kind of bending the car in the brake zone. So again, kind of similar theme. I want to catch the 2 board in my peripheral and stare down the apex and use really that as my judge of distance for slowing down and just kind of catch that out the corner of my eye. It's going to be very heavy brakes up to 85%. Keep that plateau, get the car slowed down, and wait to turn in until about the end of that curbing until I start to ease out of the brakes and get onto the flat into this corner. So this is one of the curbs I don't want to use a whole lot of the curb. On iRacing, this curb has a huge divot and it really comes down into the grass here, and it can really hook and pull a car around, which is great if you need the rotation, but in a car like this, with this setup, we do not need that rotation, so I do not want to use all of this curb. At most, I want to dip the left side tires just onto the red and yellow, just inside of the white line there, but I don't want to go completely onto it. It will probably pull the car around and have it spin out fairly easily. So come into the corner, again, coast, wait till I get onto that apex, start to ease in the power, unwind the hands, ease into the throttle as I unwind the hands. Little bit too greedy. Maybe the tires aren't quite up to temp. This is only my second hot lap coming around here, but you can use this exit curbing here if you need. I try to stay off of it because it will kind of kick the car a little bit farther out and keep you from accelerating. So I want to stay on the grippy track to accelerate out. Don't want to use this, but it is there if you need it. You do not pick up a 1X coming all the way out here onto this stuff. So play back through this one more time in the real speed from the chase cams. You can see the car placement on the curbing there. Coming through the carousel, start out pretty wide here. I'm going to drive it in super deep, and I start to turn into the inside of the track. And I want to get the right side tires right on the inside of the track here. And basically, I wait for the front end to start to give out. I don't want to wait till the front end starts to push and start to go completely out, but I want to, anticipate when that will happen in the corner, and I want to give a little bit of a lift just prior to that happening. So you see, it's just starting to happen here. I'm starting to understeer. The front end starting to push out. I get completely out of the throttle, maybe even just think about touching the brakes, and then I can start to ease back in because now the car's now on a downslope. It's settled. The front end's gripped back up, and I can start to drive through the corner, get full power, and it'll drive back down to kind of get my second apex around the carousel where that other curbing is, and I can drive out from there. No worries about getting out there. But again, you need that lift in the middle of the corner, and I like to try and anticipate when I'm going to need that lift and lift just prior to. If I wait for the front end to start to wash out, I'm going to need a bigger lift, and I'm going to have to wait much longer for the car to recover and to come back down into the right-hand side of the track. The reason I want to anticipate and get a little light lift is because this leads on to another one of those long straights, and I want to get as big a run out of here as possible. So I want to get back to full power as soon as possible, and so that is why you need the lighter lift going through the carousel instead of waiting for the front to wash out and a big lift. Next corner, the Kink. This should be easy flat in this car. Turn in. You can touch that curb if you need. You can use the exit curb if you need. In this instance, I don't need any of it, so I want to just be as smooth on the hands as possible going through the Kink. Keep it flat. Should be no problem. Even with a little bit of aero wash, you should have no problem keeping it flat through here. All right, Canada corner. Canada is another, this is a pretty flat brake zone coming into here, and it is pretty straight brake zone into Canada corner. This is one that's usually, if I've been braking at the 2 board throughout around the track, this one I'm going to have to back it up 1 and come to 3 because this is the fastest portion of the track. We're at the lowest point on the track, so we're going to need a little bit extra braking distance for the corner. But Canada is a really quick corner. It's not quite as slow as turn 5 or turn 8. So that said, I'm using about the 3 as my brake marker. I can usually drive, the nose past the 3 before getting into it. It's a very heavy brake, a lot of plateau coming into it, and it's a pretty standard late turn in. Get all the way down, use all of this apex curb, even float the right side tires onto that dirt a little bit. Ease into the throttle. Once I get onto that apex, the car is rotated, and power out. And you want to use all of the track here on exit. You can carry as much speed in. Because there's not a huge run out of this corner, you can carry a lot of speed through the apex and make up time that way rather than working on slowing it down and getting a big run out because there's not a huge run out of this corner. When you do get up onto this, it will be a little bit slicker than the track. As you can see, you kind of have to catch it, but you can use all of this and come back across. No fear of a 1X going through Canada corner. I'll go back through one more time so you can see car placement, how much of that apex curb I'm able to use. right, turn 13 approach. Only 2 more corners to go. So I realize it's getting a long video, so let's try and get through these quickly. Don't want to put the right side tires onto this entry curbing here, because this curbing kind of slants away from the track, and so it will hurt our turn in. But I want to get them right up onto that because I want to use as much of the track as possible. 13 is an easy flat, and I want to turn in kind of almost a little bit earlier than I think. In this instance, I gave just a light little kind of confidence lift, but what I'm thinking as I'm going through this, I want to load these right side tires and keep these loaded. If I eat a little bit of this apex curb here, that means I have less a chance of running wide on the exit of 13. And even while there's this access road here and the curbing, and I can use all of this, I'm not trying to go out there because I'm really thinking about setting up the brake zone for turn 14, because 14 is important leading on a super long straight up a hill. So I want to make sure I have as good a run through 14 as possible. So I'm kind of compromising 13 a little bit, not driving through quite as hard as I can, just so I get that better setup for 14. You can use all that track out. There is that access road coming through there, but you can use a little bit of a confidence lift, or this lift is more just to kind of pull the nose down so I don't keep pushing my radius wider as I drive up to it. And again, you can eat as much of this curb as possible. It's kind of an early turn in, and I'm just thinking the whole time, keep the right side loaded, keep it loaded. So I'm trying to keep as much steering lock in as possible, keep the right side loaded, keep it loaded, keep it loaded. All right, cool, I can unwind the hands. I've finished the corner because there is a bit of a crest there, so you got to make sure to keep the car loaded so that you keep the grip and you don't end up losing it or upsetting the car and having to have it take a set again and just losing a lot of track. So approach for 14, this is probably one of the trickiest brake zones on the whole track. It comes up extremely quickly after 13, and the whole brake zone is curved and the corner's curved, and it is the most important exit you'll have on the entire track. So my approach into here, I drive in past this pavement change here, about a car length or two, and similar to turn 6, this is going to be a lighter, longer brake. So I'm not going to have a huge peak and plateau or even a big peak in general. I'm going to have a lighter application and try and carry a longer brake because this is all curved here, and I want to start trying to brake on a curve. And the more pressure I use, the less the car's going to want to turn. So I drive in past there. And it's a light brake, only about 45–50% for very long as I start to turn into the corner. And basically, I'm just keeping my eyes trying to catch the apex and look for as soon as I can see the straight, and how I can get the car up the straight. I want to get the car rotated as soon as possible to get on power as soon as possible to run up the straight. And you can use all of this this curb here at the apex, and so you can see that's kind of what I'm doing. And similar to turn 3, I get it all the way in and then get on the throttle to increase my radius because I have the rotation done by this point already. I can start to get back in power. I can see all the way up the straight, so right at this point I'm going to start to unwind my hands and start to feed in the throttle, get to full as soon as possible. So there's the full power, unwind my hands. I can use all of the curbing here on exit. Doesn't really upset the car, doesn't really hurt the run, doesn't give you a 1x. So I use all of that curbing, come back across, nice and gentle onto the straight, and try and carry as much speed as I can up that hill and to the line. So again, this is a light and long brake, and try and get this rotation done early, so that we can get on power, get on full power as soon as possible. And up the straight. So this is one of those, if I over slow this and don't carry in this speed, I'll turn in too hard and too soon. So if you find yourself turning in too soon and having to unwind the hands, you're probably not carrying enough speed into this corner. At the same time, if you're missing this apex and flying off towards the grass or running out of road on exit, you're probably not slowing down enough, or you're not turning in soon enough into the corner. It is very easy to kick the rear end out if you turn in too late out here, so you do kind of need this little bit of an early turn and get in here onto the kind of darker pavement, get onto that grip, get the car rotated, so you can get the power down. One more time, chase view. And there we have the lap around Road America. Again, sorry this is a longer video, but this is, I think, the longest lap on the schedule this season, so of course it's going to be a doozy. There's 14 corners around here, and I had a little bit of an introduction to go through, but you know, from here on out, try and make these a little bit more concise, a little bit quicker, but still hope to get you guys all of the valuable points across. So again, that's thanks for watching Lap About Around Road America. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments here on YouTube, on the iRacing forums, Discord, you know, and if you see me in the session, wherever. But yeah, hope to see you guys out there racing this week. Remember, broadcast races Thursday night.